Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Been busy today doing the homestead thing, actually kind of getting ready for winter. I think it's something that most of us that live out like this, I mean, you know, even if you live in the city, you do this kind of thing, but especially out here when you got the land and all the different stuff going on outside, you sometimes have to do cleanup. And so that's what we've been doing today. We've had the last few weeks, we had some pretty wet weather, and it's been dry for several days now. And nice sunny day, a little chilly, but sunny. And so the whole family's been out just cleaning up, kind of getting things ready for winter. So that's, you know, that's just something you do when you have a place and living out in the sticks and just getting yourself ready for the coming winter. I want to talk today about something that's going on outside of the United States. Some of you may have seen some of the footage, or at least heard of the things that are going on in places like Paris. I've seen it in London. I've seen it in even Canada, where they are they're protesting, not just to the point of normal protests that we would consider a protest, but they're becoming violent and they're fighting back. Some of this footage looks very similar to stuff that happened over the summer in places like Portland and when the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots were going on. But it's pretty hardcore. I mean, I'd say there's a fine line between what they're doing and all-out civil war. And a lot of people are kind of, especially on what I would consider our side of the aisle, the more conservative, you know, are kind of condemning it. And I'm not here to necessarily praise it, but it's definitely something that I wanted to talk about and just see how that relates to what's going on over here in the United States and our reaction to it. Before I get started, I want to tell you guys and gals about another YouTube channel. I've mentioned it before, but it's been a while. And it's a friend of mine and my wife that is running this channel. It's nothing like this channel at all. It's called Old Time Movies and TV Channel. And what they're doing is they're taking these old black and white movies and TV shows and they're digitizing them, cleaning them up, and they're colorizing them. And they have a little business that they do this. And they've started a YouTube channel where they're taking these old movies and TV shows and putting them up, and they're full length and color. And it's really cool. So I'll leave a link in the description below. I want to encourage you to go over and subscribe to their channel. They're putting up a lot of content over there, and it's really great to watch the old stuff that a lot of people just, they don't watch anymore, they don't even know about. And it's a great way to introduce your children to the golden age of this, you know, silver screen, back when you didn't have to worry so much about what was being said or shown, back when there was real talent and it wasn't all about the big bang and, you know, flashes and CG and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, Old Time Movies and TV Channel, there'll be a link in the description below. Go over there and give them a subscribe and watch some of their stuff. It'd be great during the winter when your family's together and try to figure out what to do at night. You know, sit down and watch one of these old movies. It's a good, make a good family evening. Pop some popcorn. Anyways, so Paris, France, and this has been going off and on for a while now. What's called the yellow vests, and it's started off as taxi drivers and truck drivers and stuff like that were protesting increased taxes on fuel and their industry, and it's grown to where it's not just that anymore. Recently they passed a law there that it's illegal to film police, and of course people just don't like that. They don't like the fact that there's no checks and balance, and that is taking away one of those checks and balances by not allowing people to film the police. And people are taking to the streets, and thousands of them. And the protests have become quite violent. I mean, there's several different pieces of footage that I've watched where they have pushed back the police quite a bit, very aggressively, very violently. I'm sure there's been numerous injuries. There's also footage in London where people are protesting the lockdowns and the shutdowns. And some of the stuff in Paris is also related to the health crisis lockdowns. And then I've seen footage in Canada where the police have actually, there were numerous police officers, I don't know, probably at least a couple of dozen or more, police officers surrounding a restaurant that the restaurant owner was defying the shutdown orders and continually opening for business, and these police officers were surrounding the business, preventing people from going in. It was just the weirdest thing. When I watch all this, and then I think on how we are here in the United States, I can remember a time when conservatives, and I know a lot of you don't like me to lump in libertarians, but typically people that are more freedom-minded, let's put it that way, patriotic or freedom-minded people. While we've supported law enforcement, we've also been very cautious of law enforcement. We spoke often, a decade or two ago, of the dangers of a police state, the dangers of the police getting so much power and so much authority that they really begin trampling on everyone's rights, and they no longer become, or no longer are this protect and serve, where it's control. They want to control you. Now, I want to say clearly, I've said this before, I am former law enforcement. So I'm not on here just bashing police officers with no understanding of the job. I do understand the job. But I was always very critical of law enforcement because they're given a lot of authority and a lot of responsibility. And if used improperly, it could be, used to take away an individual's rights. And we see that often at times when there's the bad apple. And unfortunately, too many times, the law enforcement community does not call that person out when there's one bad apple. They kind of shield them behind that blue line. Well, what's happening now is we see the freedom-minded people in America tend to just blindly support the police. And I think it's because the left has been very critical of the police, especially over the past few months. Defunding the police, wanting to eradicate the police, not just cut back, but actually eradicate police departments in some areas. And I'm not for that necessarily. But what I am saying is that we have to be very careful not to go down a road of where we are so blindly supporting of people in authority that we don't realize that they've crossed the line, and now their authority is so far reaching that it's trampling on our rights. I've often said this to people, and I've heard others say this. You talk about, as a freedom-minded person, conservative, libertarian, limited government, whatever. I am. I'm going to lump them all together for the sake of the video and the argument. You hear times where they're critical of things like, let's just say, gun control. Oh, we don't want gun control. We don't want gun control. We don't want, them to pass laws that take our guns away. But yet we want to blindly support law enforcement or military without, really holding them accountable for what they're doing. And I'm thinking, well, who do you think is going to be the ones carrying out the gun control laws, gun confiscations or any restrictions or any arrests? It's going to be the law enforcement. And so while we say that we hold our politicians accountable, we should also hold our law enforcement accountable, because the reality is that they are the first line of intrusion and trampling on our rights. If we allow them to have too much power, too much authority, unchecked and unaccountable, and we would end up becoming a police state, which my opinion is we are already there. The level of technology, the level of authority that's been given to them. And so, reflecting and looking at what's going on in other countries, I wonder what has happened in this country that we went from being a people that supported good law enforcement, openly, proudly supported good law enforcement, was very critical of corrupt and overly powerful, authoritative, and intrusive law enforcement. Will we ever see a day that Americans would rise up against the state like we're seeing in other nations? I mean, Americans have for a very long time joked about the French, and I'm not here to bash anyone that's from France, that's French, or anything like that. But we've made fun of them for being a little bit weaker than us. And here they are out there in the streets basically telling their government that we are not going to tolerate this any longer. We're not going to stand up. And I wonder if Americans, even us patriotic, freedom-loving people, have become too pacified. Have we lost our grit? I mean, that's something that America has been known for, is that we have grit, that, we're willing to risk our life and limb to go out and stand up against, unchecked authority. Our founding fathers warned against this. That's what they were doing when they were fighting the British. Those people that they were fighting, that was the law enforcement. They were fighting against them and rebelling. And I am not advocating, at least not now, for any type of violent confrontation. What I am saying, that it may come to that point at some point in the future, because really the only way to get back freedom once it's lost is through violent means. I mean, our founders attempted in every way they could to come up with a peaceful solution with the King of England. They tried everything they could. They subpoenaed and protested, and they went before the king, and they sent ambassadors and on and on and on, trying to come up with a peaceful solution to his tyranny over them as colonists. And it didn't work. Sometimes it can, but when it becomes apparent that peaceful and legal means are not going to work, you have a choice to live under tyranny, to kind of kiss the hands that feed you, get comfortable with the chains that rest upon you, or to stand firm, pledge your life and your sacred honor, tell them to give me liberty or give me death, and embrace the animating contest of freedom. I just wonder if Americans are even capable of that anymore. I mean, it looks like there's people in other countries that are. I want to believe we are still capable of that now. But just like in one of my last videos, I said that the vast majority of Americans, it's not that they watch fake news, it's that they don't watch any news. They're just oblivious to what's going on. The vast majority of the American population really doesn't care about what goes on in the world. They don't care about the government. They don't care about the intrusion in their lives. As long as their lives are comfortable, convenient, and peaceful, then that's all they care about. And that's a sad place that we've gotten to in the history of this nation. That we have traded in our grit, our spirit of fighting and freedom, and the spirit of being willing to keep authority in check. For what? A big TV, a bigger house, a nicer car, air conditioning, comforts, conveniences, technology. These people in other countries that we're seeing kind of do more. I mean, look at, Hong Kong. There's people over there getting killed protesting the government. And I'm not saying that's where we're at this point, but I do think that we're getting pretty doggone close. Because there's no indication that they're going to slow down. There's no indication that they're going to listen to us. There's no indication that they are going to listen to our requests. We're told this is just the way it is. You need to evolve and accept these new ways of living, this new normal. You need to do this for the good of the community, for the safety of the community, for the betterment, the health of the community. This is what you should do, to turn in your freedoms for safety and security, to turn in your freedoms so that we can build a better environment for you, to turn in your freedoms so that everyone can equally be taken care of. And I'm sorry, that's not good enough for me. And there was a time when many Americans would have stood and said that that's not good enough for them either. So, as we watch, a lot of places around the world began to rebel against authority. Is that going to happen here? I mean, we've seen a little bit of it this year, but I don't know that we've seen enough. We've seen some businesses rebel against lockdown orders. We've seen some level of protests against them, but I don't think we've seen enough. It's not a safe thing to do, though. It's not pretty. Freedom is not pretty. Freedom is not easy. It's very dangerous. It's very costly. But it is the way that we are meant to be. And sometimes we need a few good men and women to stand up against it. And I hope that America has not lost its grit. I hope Americans, at least enough of us, have not lost that desire for that animated contest of freedom. Because that tree of liberty, it's getting pretty dry and wilted, folks. I think it's time it needs to be refreshed. And I think that time is coming soon if we don't start seeing something happen. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching. Go over and check out my friend's channel, Old Time Movies and TV channel. And I'll catch you in the next video.